In the last couple of days, we've had some huge news that came out of the AI space. You've probably heard about the name DeepSeek, a company out of China that came out with their own model, a model that cost way less than the American equivalent. They showed us some results. They said that its performance is on par with OpenAI's O1. Of course, that's an older model, but still, imagine what you can do over a longer period of time. Now, since it is coming out of China, some people are already saying, maybe they're not telling us the whole truth. A lot of folks are also saying, oh, if they can do it without H100s, H200s, without spending hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, what are they doing there in America? Why are they willing to throw that much money into AI, into these models, if they can do it with way less? Right? Which is quite strange. Are we going to say that companies like Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, and all of those don't know how to build models in an affordable way? Are we going to say that these companies are willingly throwing away money? I don't think so. Anyways, let's talk about AMD in this video and how they play a part in all of this story. But first, and this is a one-time thing, I'm not usually going to focus that much first on technical analysis, but when I looked at the AMD chart here again, I saw the following thing. Back here in 2021, we peaked at around $165 or so, and then we dropped 67% until we reached that bottom at the end of 2022, October 2022. We can see a 67.2% decrease in share price. How many days? 315 days. Now, I don't know if this is the simulation that we're living in playing tricks on us, but if we look at what has happened more recently being when we reached the top back here in March 2024, all the way to last week's bottom, we decreased close to 50% in price. How many days? 315 days. The exact same amount of days as before. And then since then, of course, the stock did go up quite a lot. We are also seeing that happening in the last 2 weeks, 2 green candles. Now we did finish this week just under the 20-day moving average. Of course, AMD will report earnings in 2 weeks' time. Now, I'm not saying exactly the same thing will happen as before, meaning we're now going to go up by quite a lot, but it is quite strange that back then it took 315 days for the stock to rebound, and now it seems like it's doing the exact same thing. Of course, 2 weeks from now, if earnings aren't as good as expected, if that AI revenue for 2025 does not come into the range that the analysts want it to be, then maybe that crystal ball technical analysis type of thing will not work out anymore. But so far, I found this quite interesting. And as the teacher in Incredibles said, coincidence? I think not. Or maybe yes this time. Anyways, if you enjoy this type of videos, leave it a thumbs up, subscribe if not, we really appreciate that. I know a lot of you are advanced money destroyer bag holders, so please join us here on the channel. We're trying to reach 100,000 subscribers. You can always unsubscribe later on after I have my YouTube plaque, so would really appreciate it if you hit that red button. Thank you very much. And if you want to support me even further, do check out the link down in the description and in the pinned comment to the top 10 best stocks to buy now, or go to fool.com/couchinvestor. Thank you very much. Alright, so right now AMD $122.8 per share and market cap just under $200 billion, a forward PE of 27.6 times, with the expected growth rates for the coming fiscal years being still quite good and quite high, over 23% year-over-year growth for sales in fiscal 25 and fiscal 2026, and then EPS growing a bit quicker than that in those same fiscal years. The current average analyst price target sits 40% higher than the price we're at right now. And looking at some pricing metrics here, forward PE, EV to EBITDA, price to sales, that's under the 5-year mean, and price to free cash flow is a bit higher than the 5-year mean, but that's in the last 12 months. We know that free cash flow is expected to accelerate quite rapidly in the coming quarters, and price earnings to growth 0.62, by definition undervalued. So what happened was this. DeepSeek R1 put out this report basically showing us that their performance is on par with OpenAI O1. Now they are training their models with H800s because of the, export restrictions, but the cost here is what everybody's focusing on, and the cost here is, quite strange. Because they say that their total training cost amount to only $5.57 million. And then they said the following. Note that the aforementioned costs include only the official training of DeepSeek v3, excluding the costs associated with prior research and ablation experience on architectures, algorithm, or data. So, yeah, here again, China. The CEO of Scale AI also had something to say about DeepSeek and, China's use of NVIDIA GPUs.
The Chinese labs, they have more H100s than people think.
And these are the highest powered NVIDIA chips that they were not supposed to have.
Yes. My understanding is that DeepSeek has about 50,000 H100s, which they can't talk about, obviously, because it is against the export controls that the United States has put in place. And I think it is true that, I think they have more chips than other people expect, but also on a go-forward basis, they are going to be limited by the chip controls and the export controls that we have in place.
So again, I had to take these things with a grain of salt. Now, AMD did not waste any time, so they tweeted out the following thing. Excited to share that AMD has integrated the new DeepSeek v3 model on Instinct MI300X GPUs, designed for peak performance with SG-Lang. DeepSeek v3 is optimized for AI inferencing. Special thanks to the DeepSeek and SG-Lang teams for their close collaboration. Now, look at the dates. January 24, 2025. And everybody's like, whoa, look at AMD, DeepSeek, tralala. Okay, but look at this. AMD Instinct GPUs power DeepSeek v3. January 7, before all the hype around DeepSeek. So why didn't I hear a lot of people talk about that? Well, again, clicks and views and impressions on X. That's why. Anyways, AMD said the following here with regards to the GPU accelerators and DeepSeek v3, leveraging AMD ROCm software and AMD Instinct GPU accelerators across 3 stages of DeepSeek v3 development further strengthens a long-standing collaboration with AMD and commitment to an open software approach for AI. Scalable infrastructure for AMD enables developers to build powerful visual reasoning and understanding applications. And this is the important part here. We know that AMD compared to NVIDIA, the issue here is not hardware. Well, not all hardware. The big issue is software. The big issue is ROCm competing with CUDA. Basically, the issue is that CUDA is just much better at the moment. But this is why I believe that AMD goes through the open source model. This is why I believe that in 2025, that's going to be the transformational moment for AMD. I do think that AMD has quite strong leadership and great teams. I don't think they are that dumb to disregard the problem with regards to the software. I think they're working on software solutions. And of course, with the acquisition of ZT, that's also going to help them. But the fact that they're going through the open source route, I think that's going to help them immensely, especially when it comes to inferencing. But they don't only want to play the inferencing game. They also want to play the training one. And so a quick summary on how all of this can help AMD, right? DeepSeek and their performance and what the possibilities here are. So we have power and efficiency. DeepSeek v3 showcases superior performance in AI inference tasks due to its large parameter count and optimized design, surpassing models like GPT-4o and Llama 3.1. This highlights AMD's GPU's capability for handling cutting-edge AI models, potentially attracting developers and enterprises away from NVIDIA by offering high-performance solutions. Then, of course, cost effectiveness. AMD could gain market share by offering a less expensive yet capable alternative to NVIDIA. Talking about TCO, total cost of ownership, that's a pretty big deal here in that space. Then we've got specialization in inference. AMD's focus on inference with their latest chips taps into the growing importance of efficient AI deployment over training. And then, like I said before, collaboration and ecosystem, the commitment to building an ecosystem around the hardware. That's why basically CUDA has been such a success over time. And that's also why AMD has been trailing. Maybe that will change this year. Now, going back to what was mentioned in the last couple of conference calls, not just earnings calls, but conferences with analysts and all of that, talking about inference. So we've got one analyst asking here, I wonder if you could talk about the $5 billion of AI revenue, how that breaks down between training and inference. And if you're able to assess that and just, I know you sort of started off with most of the traction in inference, but you've seen some traction on the training side. Basically, he wants to know what the split looks like, training, inference. So Lisa Su here said, certainly from the $5 billion that we're talking about, that's for the full year 2024, the early traction has been primarily with inference, just given the strength of the product portfolio. MI300 is like very, very well optimized for inference, given the memory capacity and memory bandwidth capabilities. But we have had some training adoption, and we expect that will continue to grow as we go through the next few quarters with MI325, 355, and all of that. And so as we, let's call it fast forward a year, I would say we would have a fairly balanced portfolio between training and inference. Another analyst asked another question here, bottom line question, but I'm asked all the time. When do you think, given what you know about your roadmap and given what you know about NVIDIA's roadmap, when do you think you're going to have a product in the marketplace at the same time as them that is equivalent or better that you've caught up? So the executive here said basically that right now, with regards to the H100 and H200, they are well positioned with the MI300 and MI325. But then when we look at the middle of next year, which this was at the end of 2024, so the middle of next year is the middle of 2025. This is a bad transcript thing. This is GB200. I think really will be deployed in volume at that point. That's when it's really going to start ramping up in volume, and they think they're going to be there with the 355. And there are no questions, no asterisks on the MI400 generation. Basically, they think that the MI400 generation is really the one that's going to compete very, very well with the NVIDIA solution. We aspire to be there with leadership, training, and inference, and chain of thought solution with MI400, and that's for 2026. That's very important to understand because I've seen a lot of people say, oh, AMD is focused only on inference, AMD inference, AMD inference. Yes, it's true that they're focused on inference, but AMD does not only want to be known as, oh, AMD, the solution for inference. No, there is still quite a lot of money and valuable data and all of that to be made with regards to the training aspect of things. Yes, over time, inference will become bigger, but just saying that, oh, AMD is not a player in training is not good. Okay, that's not a positive thing, just focusing on inference, okay, because that's how you're definitely going to lose against someone like NVIDIA. Now, looking at what's going to happen or what's expected to happen in the next coming fiscal years is this. If we look at net income, not even comparing the last fiscal year, so fiscal 23, no, I'm taking the last 12 months. Net income is expected to 6x in the next, 2-point-something fiscal years. So basically the whole of fiscal 24, fiscal 25, and fiscal 2026. 6x net income. With regards to EPS, we are expected to grow, well, obviously about the same thing, right? $1.1 EPS to $6.9. We're going to do with free cash flow 5.8 times. So in the last 12 months, $1.556 billion. By the end of fiscal 2026, that's expected to be just over $9 billion. Of course, these are the current expectations, which, as we've seen in the past, can change quite rapidly. But as you can see, despite all the recent downgrades and all of that, it still is the expectation that AMD is expected to grow. AMD is expected to grow quite rapidly in the next coming years, especially when it comes from a profitability standpoint. Now, of course, for it to be a very good and successful investment, the sentiment around it, right, that it can compete with NVIDIA has to change. And I think in 2 weeks' time, we're going to see the sentiment or change completely or continue to be a drag on the stock, depending on what gets mentioned in that earnings call. So overall, that's about it. I think this is one of my better AMD videos. So If you're still here, like, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.